The woods strangled the sunlight. We, 4 friends on a backpacking trip, had ventured deeper than any of us had ever been. The map, a flimsy thing bought at a gas station convenience store, was already a soggy mess in Sarah's pocket. We were lost, a prickling unease growing with every snap of a twig underfoot. The decision to camp came with the setting sun, a monstrous red orb bleeding through the thick canopy. We huddled together for warmth, the fire a pathetic excuse against the encroaching chill. The forest at night was a symphony of unsettling sounds, the wind whispering secrets through the leaves, the unnerving calls of unseen creatures, and a constant, low scratching that seemed to circle our campsite. Sleep was a stolen scrap, punctuated by jolts awake at every rustle. Sarah swore she saw a pair of eyes glowing in the darkness, but none of us dared to admit our growing fear. Then came the screams. It was Emily, her voice raw with terror. We scrambled to her tent, only to find it ripped open from the inside. Empty. The scratching reached a crescendo, a sound of claws tearing at wood. Panic surged as we realized the tent wasn't ripped, it had been shredded from within. We fled, crashing blindly through the undergrowth, the sound of pursuit a constant drumming in our ears. The trees seemed to twist and turn, mocking our escape. I tripped, a bone-jarring fall. When I looked up, the others were gone. Alone, surrounded by the hungry dark, a new sound pierced the night, a wet, guttural laugh that sent shivers down my spine. A hulking figure emerged from the trees, moonlight glinting off bone-like claws and eyes that burned with an unnatural hunger. I ran, lungs burning, tears blurring my vision. The forest seemed to take on a malicious sentience, branches snagging at my clothes, roots tripping my feet. The laughter echoed behind me, growing closer. Then, silence. A horrible, all-encompassing silence. I stumbled out of the woods at dawn, a wreck of mud and terror. Help arrived, but they found no trace of my friends. Just a single, mangled tent and a scattering of ripped clothes, testaments to the horror that lurked in the heart of the silent wood. The official report, animal attack. But I know what it was. The forest claimed them, their screams a chilling lullaby in the symphony of the night. And sometimes, on the edge of sleep, I can still hear that laughter, a promise that the hungry darkness is always waiting. This isn't your typical monster in the woods story. This is a deeper dread, a creeping sense of wrongness. We were a search and rescue team, 5 of us on a routine mission. A group of college students had gone missing on a remote trail deep in the Blackwood forest. The reports were vague, no signs of struggle, just abandoned tents. Blackwood wasn't like other forests. It was old, silent, with a suffocating stillness that pressed against you. The trees were gnarled and twisted, their branches clawing at the sky like skeletal fingers. As we ventured deeper, an unnatural quiet descended. No birdsong, no rustling leaves, just a heavy, oppressive silence. The first sign of trouble was the trail. It vanished. One moment it was there, a well-worn path, the next, it simply ceased to exist. The forest floor was a uniform carpet of damp leaves, unbroken by any footprints. We navigated by compass, the air thick with a cloying, metallic tang that made our throats raw. Days blurred into nights. Rations dwindled, our unease morphing into a cold dread. The forest seemed to twist around us, the same landmarks reappearing, the feeling of going in circles tightening its grip. We argued, tempers flared, the isolation gnawing at our sanity. Then came the whispers. Faint at first, like the sigh of wind through trees, but growing clearer each night. They spoke in an unknown tongue, a guttural language that sent chills down our spines. They swirled around us, formless voices that seemed to emanate from everywhere and nowhere at once. Sleep became impossible. We huddled together, backs pressed against each other for comfort, the whispers a constant assault. Paranoia bloomed, every rustle became a threat, every shadow a monster. One morning, we woke to find symbols carved into the trees, crude spirals and jagged lines that sent a primal fear lancing through me. It felt like a warning, a malevolent message from the forest itself. The final straw came when John disappeared. One minute he was there, the next, gone without a sound. We searched, calling his name until our voices were hoarse, but there was nothing. Just the oppressive silence, punctuated by the maddening whispers. Terror broke us. We ran, a desperate scramble through the suffocating woods. I don't know how, but we stumbled out of the trees, collapsing onto the familiar, welcoming asphalt of the forest road. We were a mess, physically and mentally broken. The students were never found. No trace of John either. Blackwood Forest claimed them, not with fangs and claws, but with a soul-crushing isolation and a chilling presence that seeped into your very core. It was a horror not of the physical, but of the mind, a slow descent into a madness whispered by the ancient trees. The fire crackled, casting dancing shadows on the faces crammed around it. We were 4 friends, on a long-awaited camping trip deep in the northern Canadian wilderness. Miles from any town, the silence was broken only by the snap of twigs and the haunting hoot of an owl. It was the kind of quiet that settled in your bones, a quiet that held the promise of something else. The unease started subtly. A misplaced backpack, a fleeting glimpse of movement in the dense undergrowth. Then came the strange symbols. Carved haphazardly on the smooth bark of trees, they resembled nothing we'd ever seen. We dismissed them as local folklore, a shiver of superstition down our spines. The real terror began the night the first map vanished. Sarah, the meticulous planner, swore she left it by the fire. We searched frantically, retracing every step, but it was gone. Panic gnawed at the edges of our camaraderie. The forest, once a majestic embrace, now felt like a hungry beast closing in. The following night, it was the compass. John, our designated navigator, fumbled in his pocket, his face paling as he pulled out an empty hand. The silence that followed was deafening. We were truly lost, adrift in a sea of towering pines and whispering leaves. Sleep became a terrifying luxury. Every rustle was a potential threat, every groan of the ancient trees a whispered warning. Paranoia bloomed like a poisonous flower. Accusations flew, laced with the desperation of men clinging to sanity by their fingernails. Then came the dreams. Vivid, horrifying nightmares that felt more real than reality. Images of stalking figures with eyes like burning embers, whispers in an unknown tongue slithering into our ears. We woke screaming, drenched in sweat, the lines between dream and reality blurring. One morning, we woke to find a single word carved into the trunk of a nearby tree: leave. It was a stark command, a desperate plea hanging heavy in the thick air. Fear, raw and primal, clawed at our throats. We packed our remaining supplies, a silent agreement forming between us. The hike back was a blur of exhaustion and terror. The forest seemed to resist our escape, the path twisting and turning, leading us in endless circles. But finally, mercifully, we stumbled out of the trees. The sight of the distant highway had never looked so beautiful. We never spoke of what happened in the woods. The experience left us hollowed out, forever marked by the unseen presence that lurked within the silent trees. The horror wasn't a monster with teeth and claws, but something older, something that wormed its way into your mind, leaving you questioning the very fabric of reality. The whispers, I fear, will never truly leave us. They linger in the quiet moments, a chilling reminder of the hungry darkness that dwells in the heart of the wild. The old ranger's eyes were like chipped flint when he warned us about mosswood barrens. They say the mountains whisper secrets there, he rasped, secrets best left unheard. We, a group of seasoned backpackers, scoffed. Mountains whisper? Please. Days into the trek, the unease began. The silence was profound, broken only by the unsettling snap of unseen twigs. The air hung heavy, thick with the scent of decay and something metallic, like blood. The vibrant greens of the lower forest morphed into a sickly, uniform yellow. The playful squirrels and chirping birds were gone, replaced by an unnerving stillness. The first sign came at night. A rhythmic drumming echoed through the trees, a sound that resonated deep within your bones. It pulsed with a primal urgency, sending shivers down our spines. We huddled closer to the fire, the flames casting flickering shadows that danced menacingly on the pallid yellow leaves. Sleep was a fragile thing, haunted by nightmares of unseen figures lurking in the periphery. Morning brought a new terror. The familiar trail had vanished, replaced by a labyrinth of identical yellow trees. Panic gnawed at the edges of our confidence. We argued, accusations flying, the isolation twisting our camaraderie into a tangled mess. Then came the carvings. Crude symbols, like twisted stick figures, appeared etched into the trees. They seemed to multiply overnight, a silent, omnipresent threat. The whispers started subtly at first, faint murmurs in the wind. They grew bolder with each passing day, weaving into a chilling chorus in an unknown tongue. The forest itself seemed to be speaking, and its message was far from friendly. One by one, we started losing things, a watch, a compass, a lighter. Each disappearance fueled the paranoia, the feeling of being watched, toyed with by unseen entities. We weren't lost anymore, we were trapped. The final straw came the night Michael vanished. His screams, a horrifying mix of terror and primal fear, shattered the oppressive silence. We found his tent ripped to shreds, no sign of a struggle, just a single, chilling symbol carved into the earth where he had slept. We fled, driven by a primal terror. The forest seemed to resist our escape, the trees clawing at us, the whispers turning into a maddening cacophony. Finally, we stumbled out of the tree line, collapsing onto the familiar gravel of the forgotten logging road. We were a mess, physically and mentally broken. Mosswood barrens claimed Michael, and something more precious, a piece of our sanity. The whispers still echo in the quiet moments, a chilling reminder that some secrets are best left buried in the heart of the silent woods.